What's going on, Summoners? Welcome back to another ProGuides video. I'm Kangas, and in today's episode of OP Patch Predictions, I'm talking about some of the changes coming on patch 11.4, and how they may change or fail to change the state of the game. So let's get into it.
The majority of changes we're seeing on this patch are buffs, and the nerfs we do see are, for the most part, pretty light in scale. To start off our list of OP predictions, I still think the Moonstaff combo is going to be incredibly broken, even despite their attempts at reeling in the item combo over the last two patches. The biggest reason is that the champs that abuse it aren't necessarily going anywhere. Whether it's Lulu top, Ivern in the solo lane, or Seraphine, the triple flex pick, locking in one of these champs gives a massive boost to your team's ability to win those late game 5v5 brawls. Moonstaff is definitely the most OP combo in the game right now, but it's not the first time that players have found crazy overtuned combinations before, and it's not always items. Champ combos can be broken too. Karthus with Old Nunu's Blood Boil, Yi with Taric for funneling, the list goes on. And that brings us to today's question of the day. What do you think is the most broken combo of all time? I still have nightmares of Funnel Yi Smurfs in my games from about 2 years ago, and it keeps me up at night, but let me know yours in the comments down below. The Moonstone nerf is only aimed at the early game power of Moonstone Renewer, which means as you get closer and closer to level 18, the more you won't really feel a change at all. Those that build this on the carry roles of top, mid, and bot lane won't really feel the difference to begin with, since they tend to soak up farm and get enough XP to get close to max level every game. On the other hand, supports building the item will definitely feel the change, since they tend to get the least amount of XP in the game. But like I said, that's just not near enough to stop the item from being meta on the champs that can make use of it. The real reason Moonstone is so OP isn't because of the strength of the heals, but the frequency. Imagine if they just decreased the proc rate from once every 2 seconds to every 3 seconds. That would literally cut the healing in half without touching the heal numbers themselves. But even if they buffed the heal to 50% to compensate, the item would be a little worse since you'd get less airy procs and Stop of Flowing Water and Ardent Sensor. The ability to constantly buff pretty much every champ on your team with your item passives is what makes Moonstone so OP. So let's take a look at what it's done for Lulu, for example. When it comes to buffing up a carry to go Super Saiyan and mow down the enemy team, Lulu has arguably the best kit with that goal in mind. But that kit is also designed to buff up one teammate, usually the AD carry, in order to do this job. But now with Moonstone, even while focusing her spells on only her AD carry, she's able to constantly apply Staff and Ardent to all of her other teammates while still providing them extra sustain to make it through the fight. The only limitation many champs have when it comes to abusing Moonstone Renewer is how well they can actually keep it going. If you read the tooltip, you'll notice that you don't actually get the passive procs unless you're in combat with other champs. This means you have to be willing to stop standing all the way in the back of the fight and either deal or take damage to enemy champions. And for that reason, Seraphine is hands down the best abuser of this item. She's the one champ that can sit completely out of harm's way and still milk Moonstone for everything it's worth. With her low cooldowns and insanely far-reaching passive autos, you are almost always barraging the enemy with some sort of damage. Now, with all this explanation out of the way as to why Moonstone Renewer is still not just viable, but possibly the most broken item in the game, do remember that not every single enchanter should be building it. For example, most Janna and Nami players actually prefer Imperial Mandate, Janna for its synergy with her W, and Nami for her synergy with the E. This turns both champs into relatively strong lane bullies, if you actually choose to play them that way, and out of lane gives your teammates much better chasing and kiting power. So, TLDR, if a champ already builds Moonstone, just keep doing so. If they went Imperial Mandate instead, they have even more reason to do so now. Honestly, nothing really changes with this nerf. If you're the type of player who enjoys playing supports like this with a focus on winning teamfights via keeping your allies alive, as opposed to the more proactive ones like Thresh or Rel that rely on landing skills to make picks and start fights, your success is going to come down to your ability to survive even the toughest of kill lanes and positioning properly in fights. We have tons of courses as well as high-level coaches that can help you with exactly that, and anything else that you throw at them. And right now is the best time to get on board with the huge discount that we're running. Use discount code RANKUP2021 at checkout for 20% off. Anyway, let's get back to the video. Up next, let's talk about the pretty big changes to jungle that we're seeing on this patch. If you're a League player, the phase better jungler wins is something you see pretty much daily. While the jungle matchup can be heavily influenced by things like mid-prio and roaming supports, it as a role is the single most impactful one in the early game, with the ability to turn impossible matchups into winning ones with well-timed ganks. But what's been even more broken than the ability to assist lanes is just how broken high clear speed, power farming junglers have been this season. Champions like Olaf, Graves, Udyr, and Hecarim are able to easily dominate games, as they can focus up all the farm on their side of the map well before their opponents, and then just look to gank or invade their opponents. Once they acquire even a small lead, champs in this category would just snowball like crazy, able to invade and take camps in seconds if their opponent shows on the other side of the map. With pre-11.4 values in the jungle, they could use the gold and EXP from this playstyle of farming and invading alone to be as strong or even stronger than their laners, even the fed ones. Any kills they picked up just increased their already snowballing lead and made them impossible to deal with. Anyone who's played AD carry against a fed Olaf, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But with the new jungle changes, there's been a pretty huge increase in the number of champs that you can make work in the jungle. Since power farming junglers have been hit pretty hard with nerfs, with champs unable to even hit level 4 after a full jungle clear, these early game proactive ganking junglers are definitely rising up in viability, if not even top tier status. While we can't quite say for certain who exactly will be the best picks, I personally expect Lee Sin, Jarvan, Rek'Sai, and Elise to be massive picks for players that prefer to play extremely aggressive, making plays to set the pace of the game. This style of play will make up for the gold that has been taken out of the camps and will ensure that you don't have losing lanes. That said, there are definitely some trade-offs at play here. The aggressive style will work out better when you're able to successfully pull off those ganks, but farming will always be the more consistent playstyle. If you attempt to go for ganks but fail to pull them off, while the other jungler just clears out their camps and then takes some of your remaining ones away, you'll find it much harder to get back into the game through farming alone. You'll have to keep trying to force aggressive plays in an attempt to just catch up at this point. I've already given some of the junglers that I think are going to be pretty strong, but just to recap, they were Lee Sin, Jarvan, Rek'Sai, and Elise. Champs that have both fast clears and ganking ability like Udyr and Hecarim will also still be insanely strong, since they'll both have a consistency of the farming style while also being able to go for ganks when opportunities arrive. As far as the more farm-oriented junglers, the best picks will be the ones that can have massive teamfight impact with a decrease in their income. Ivern should still be incredibly strong, maybe even borderline OP tier, but other than that, things like Skarner and Nunu should remain pretty solid picks. And as for the champions coming up from the lower tiers, Amumu and maybe even Zac may be at least good, if not great, due to their amazing engage potential. On the flip side, champs that power farm without much ability to help lanes, that rely on their own high damage and low utility kits, will be a lot less able to carry games due to this lower income. This means that things like Master Yi and Shyvana are probably just in the stay away tier for now. So to summarize, farming junglers will still be okay, but the teamfighting tanks will be much better than pure DPS picks. The best champs for hard carrying will be the high tempo champs that can gank as early as level 2 or 3, and even if you lose 2 camps on the other side of the map, pulling off a successful early gank is super worth it now. For as long as the role exists, jungle will always be the most impactful for controlling the flow of the early game. Whether it's getting laners back in the game, establishing vision control to both pressure the map and keep your allies safe, securing early dragons, or even just helping shove in a wave to break a freeze, a lot of the early game is up to you to decide. Since you don't have to deal with mechanics like last hitting and trading to punish your opponent like laners do, almost all of your success will come down to the decisions that you make in game. And if you want to get better at all that, I highly recommend you head over to ProGuides.com. Whether you fail to understand the basics or you have a solid foundation but just want to level up to a more advanced understanding of the game, our top tier coaches can help you path like a challenger so that you can reach your goals this season. So that covers the first 2 major points in our OP predictions, but there's still some individual champions to look at. Camille's W nerf may lead to a slightly weaker lane phase as it takes away from her poke and sustain just a bit, but don't be fooled. While this may make mistakes on her a tad more punishing, she's still an insanely broken champ when played well. When a champ has an auto attack with ult levels of true damage, all on a 6-second base cooldown, a micro change like this isn't really going to solve that problem. Hey Riot, how about instead we take away her ability to do 700 true damage with just 3 items? Then maybe we'll start to see her lose her spot at the top. But it's not just Camille that will rule this patch from the top lane. Darius and Riven are actually right now on pretty equal footing, with Darius taking just a slight lead over Camille and Riven because he directly counters both of them. A fed Darius, Camille, or Riven can easily 1v9 games even if both other lanes are hard losing just due to how much damage they put out, all while having incredible teamfight survivability through shields and healing. With our previous mention of gank-heavy junglers becoming a better option, it's looking like many games will come down to who gets fed first with the help of their jungler. But quickly looking away from the king and queens of the top lane, aggressive junglers mean that aggressive laners, preferably ones with CC, are indirectly buffed. Things like Annie, Pantheon, and engage supports are all going to be really good picks regardless of your matchup, as long as you have a jungler that prefers to gank. On the flip side, I think champs that rely on farming to mid, or even late game power spikes like Kassadin and Fiora will be much more susceptible to being camped since they usually don't win the 2v2 in most matchups.
And that about wraps things up for our OP Patch Predictions 11.4 edition. Really hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to like it, sub to the channel, and let us know what combos were most OP in the comments down below. Also go check out our Discord in the description box below, where you can join me and other salty supports that cry daily over those Pantheon nerfs. or just, be part of the community. Anyways, can't wait to see you back in the next video, but until then, best of luck on the Rift, stay hydrated, and I'll see you in the next one. So let's get into it. Jeez.
High energy!
That's me.